If you thought it was already expensive to drive a car in California, get ready for something called track and tax, a mileage tax coming to California if liberal politicians have their way. Coming up, we'll tell you about their insane idea to get your money and what we're doing to fight back. I'm Carl DeMaio, chairman of Reform California, and we already have covered on this channel the absurdly high cost of driving a car in California, with the state having the highest gas tax in the nation. And because of the costly regulations, the Green New Deal, the greedy New Steel, the most expensive gasoline prices in the nation. In yesterday's podcast, I shared the alarming news that they're going to increase the gas tax to nearly $2 a gallon in California through their new fees and regulations that they're imposing by 2026. But even that cash grab is not enough for these greedy politicians. They've got something called track and tax, which we call the mileage tax. That's right. California politicians want to replace the gas tax with a mileage tax. Now, what they say is they're going to replace the gas tax. No. They're not going to replace the gas tax. Do you think these people ever lower a tax while they're raising another tax somewhere else? Hells no. No, they want both a gas tax and they want a mileage tax. Here's KCRA, NBC3 in the Bay Area, talking about the pilot program that Caltrans has on how to replace the gas tax. And again, there is no replacement happening here. I guarantee you that.
Caltrans is looking into a potential replacement for the gas tax,
which is a per mile fee instead of a per gallon fee that is current.
It is a per mile fee instead of a per gallon fee. Notice how she calls it a fee. They can't even use the word tax. This is a tax. This is government taking money, charging you every mile that you drive. And of course, they're going to need to track that to figure out how many miles you drive. And that's why we call this track and tax. But let's hear more.
Currently being paid at the pump.
The transportation system, but with a shift to more electric vehicles, the current system won't work for the state.
And this current pilot that we're doing is really focused on testing the revenue collection.
The agency adds that the road charge would balance out the fee inequity.
Right now.
Oh, it's about equity. We need to balance out the fee for equity purposes. Equity? You all have been hosing California drivers for years. You charge these exorbitant gas taxes, and then you don't fix the roads. The money always goes into the black hole of the budget for climate change and transit subsidies. Never road repairs, never expanding our road network to deal with congestion. No, in fact, the Democrat politicians that run the state into the ground have said that you shouldn't be driving, that you should be walking or biking or sitting on some smelly, unsafe bus or subway system. The gas tax is one of the biggest scams that we have in California. It is fraud. And so she has the audacity to talk about equity. Bitch, please. Equity? There is no equity here. It is just a one-way flow of money from Californians who are already struggling into the coffers of government. And recognize that when you add cost to driving, it is a regressive tax because people who are on the lower end of the income scale, number one, it's a fixed fee that they're being forced to pay regardless of income. So people who are rich doesn't really, make a dent in their household budget. But having a $2.50 increase in the cost of gas in California compared to the cost nationwide, and that's about what it is, because we have a $2 state gas tax burden with regulations and fees and taxes. Having that impact to a low-income family is much more dramatic than the rich family. So we all talk about equity. Hello. Plus, people who are poor tend to live farther away from the job centers. Housing is expensive where the jobs are, clustered. And so these folks are driving from farther away. I know a lot of folks who work in San Diego, where I live, but they're driving up and down the 15 freeway, um, great distances, sitting in traffic, going up to South Riverside. Many of them also live way out in East County, out the 8 freeway. Again, long distances because they can't afford to live closer to their job because of the exorbitant housing prices. So when you add a cost to driving, it disproportionately hurts lower income Californians. What they're saying is, oh, well, it's electric vehicles. And so we need to, make sure the electric vehicles are paying their fair share, which, by the way, I think everyone should pay a fair share, but I don't think that everyone should be price gouged, which is what they're trying to do. But on these electric vehicles, this whole track and tax scheme is predicated on the, I think, complete fantasy that somehow we're all going to be shifting to electric vehicles in the near future. While there was a big sale of electric vehicles in the first few years that they were available, mainly from guilty-ridden liberals who are rich at the coast deciding, oh, I'm going to buy myself an electric vehicle so I can virtue signal while I'm out on the road. That market has been tapped. And now we have an excess supply of EVs because the rest of the market says, we don't want an electric vehicle. We'd like a good old American gas guzzler. We don't trust in the notion of an electric vehicle. We don't think it's reliable for long distance. We don't think it's going to be affordable because the price of electricity is skyrocketing, let alone if you can get any electricity when the whole system collapses because of a surge in demand. No, the market's saying, okay, the people who were going to buy electric vehicles, the early adopters, if you will, those were the only adopters. And the rest of us are perfectly fine with our gas-powered cars. They see a future where everyone is out driving an electric vehicle. I don't think that at all is what we're seeing in the market data in terms of vehicle sales. But hey, these people are not tethered to reality. These people are literally untethered. They're insane. They're fantasy clowns. But let's continue with their little story about equity. What are they saying about equity and why a gas tax is unequitable and we need to have a track and tax, mileage tax scheme?
Under the gas tax system, those who can't afford newer vehicles are actually paying more than those who can afford newer vehicles. So those folks tend to be in more disadvantaged communities or maybe rural areas.
Caltrans is looking for 800 participants to partake in the pilot program. They would be divided into 2 rate groups.
If you're wondering how much your fee would be, you could use the road charge calculator by Caltrans and answer 3 questions. How many miles you drive a month, how many miles per gallon your car gets, and the kind of fuel that you use. Then you'd get a rate. However, this is going to be hypothetical, and it will eventually be determined by the state's legislature.
But as the program gets...
it's hypothetical. I'm sure the hypothetical is always lower. They always say, oh, it's not going to cost you much. Don't worry about it. And of course, they get their fee or tax increase, and bam, we get hosed, and they get our money. Don't even bother with a calculator. We basically are seeing in San Diego County, which we defeated the mileage tax in San Diego County. For the past 4 years, we've been fighting it because Caltrans originally just wanted to implement it in San Diego County as a pilot for the county. And we said, hells to the no. Reform California put together a comprehensive campaign to target legislators and city councils and flip seats and do recalls. And we successfully scared the crap out of local Democrat politicians. And so they dropped the idea. But what they were suggesting, are you ready for this? Is that would be 9 cents per mile. Times, let's say you drive the average of a car of 15,000, that's $1,350 in addition to the gas tax that you're paying at 9 cents per mile. $1,350 would be the mileage tax that you would be paying every year. They're basically turning you into a cabbie. As you're in the cab, there's a device that's tracking and adding money as you're driving. It's just annoying and insane. So that is the concept, is that they have this pilot project. They want to get 800 volunteers to step forward and subject themselves to a track and tax scheme for the next year. Now, what they're being told is that they will get money back, and they're going to be paid, they say, up to $400, it seems. Yeah, earn up to $400 because they are going to participate in this survey. It's not a year project, it's a 6-month project. At the end, participants will receive a credit for gas taxes or electric vehicle registrations that they paid during the period. Very interesting that they're calling it a pilot project, and I'm sure that they are going to say that they have a pilot project that shows that all of the participants are very happy with this idea, and all of them prefer it to the old gas tax system. Now, remember, there is no commitment here that we are eliminating a gas tax in exchange for the track and tax system. I've never seen politicians give up a tax source and while they're implementing a new one. Oh, they might say that now, but it's not going to happen. I guarantee that at the end of the day, you will end up paying more to these people, because these people have always been about one thing: how do they get money out of your pocket? Real quick, we've also seen the protests at the schools, campuses. I think it's disgraceful that these wingnuts are out there protesting, shutting down colleges, shutting down schools in favor of basically terrorist, pro-Hamas terrorism protests. It's ignorant, it's anti-Semitic, it's filled with violence and hate. They should be arrested. They should be, frankly, thrown out of school. But no, instead, the college administrators, the woke faculty and college administrators, school administrators, have punished the kids by closing schools, canceling class, canceling graduations. And I want to remind you that the kids that are graduating this year, 2024, are the kids that missed out on graduation for high school 4 years ago, when the entire economy and all the schools were shut down. We were all put under lockdown. Well, the union at the UC system, representing most of the workers, UC workers authorized a strike yesterday because they don't like the fact that on some campuses, some of the protesters have been removed from their camps. What are their demands? Quote, the union has 5 demands, including amnesty for students, of course. In other words, let them off of their crimes. Doesn't matter what they vandalized, who they assaulted, who they threatened. Give them amnesty. Divestment from companies that are profiting from the war in Gaza. Profiting from the war in Gaza? You mean companies that are supplying self-defense tools to Israel and people trying to stop their communities from being victimized by terrorists? You're profiting off of this. They also want researchers to be able to opt out from funding sources tied to military or oppression of Palestinians. A list of demands. How about you just be grateful that you still have a job, a taxpayer-funded, overpaid job? One final point on our border. My good friend at Fox News, Bill Belusian, has the data. These are the number of gotaways at the border. He did a Freedom of Information Act request and found that in 2010, for example, there were 155,000 gotaways coming across the border. But you fast forward to the Trump administration, again in the low hundreds. But with Biden, it has spiked all the way up to 670,674 in the last fiscal year alone of illegal immigrant gotaways. That's an invasion. That is scary. And by the way, the ones that they do apprehend, they still let into this country. We're talking millions of people. And here in San Diego, the dubious honor for San Diego County. San Diego leads all sectors in migrant crossings in April, Border Patrol says. We haven't been number one in Southern California for illegal crossings since 1999. Hey, you know what? Give credit to Gavin Newsom, making California number one for all the wrong reasons. Look, at Reform California, we're fighting the fight to try to restore some sanity to our state, but we need your help. First and foremost, 85% of you watching this video are not subscribed to this channel. Please subscribe so that every day we post a new episode every day on the top stories in California that you need to know about. I want to make sure you get that post every day. I want to make sure that you know that we have a very short 20-minute video every day on the top stories that we think you should know about, because this is important information that the liberal media won't give you. Subscribe to this channel. Smash that notification button. It helps us, again, keep you informed, but also build our reach across California. Also, come November, we have a voter guide giving you the plain English description on all ballot measures, as well as endorsements on all races from Congress all the way down to the school board races. Sign up for that voter guide simply on our website, reformcalifornia.org. First name, last name, email, phone, and zip. That's all it takes. Super simple. And during the election season, we will email you the voter guide for your local races. Plus, help us fuel this movement to take back our state. Contribute online at reformcalifornia.org. We can't do this work without your support. Until next time, Carl DeMaio, Chairman of Reform California. Help us break through the censorship of the liberal media. Like this video, subscribe to this channel, and smash that notification button so you can stay up to date on all the developments in California news and politics. Also, please visit the website, reformcalifornia.org, for ongoing news coverage and to join one of our campaigns in the fight to take back our state. If you can, please sign up as a volunteer or chip in a contribution. This episode of Reform California with Carl DeMaio, paid for by Carl DeMaio for State Assembly 2024.